A lot of new revelations emerged yesterday from the hearing on the terror attack on our consulate in Benghazi. We're going to get to those in a moment. But first, let's go back to the immediate days after the strike and the explanation we were given by President Obama and then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
We've seen rage and violence directed at American embassies over an awful internet video that we had nothing to do with.
You had a video that was released by somebody who lives here, sort of a shadowy character who is an extremely offensive video directed at Muhammad and Islam. Extremists and terrorists used this as an excuse to attack a variety of our embassies, including the consulate in Libya.
But here is what Gregory Hicks, the second highest ranking official on the ground at the time, told Congress yesterday.
Did you report to anyone in Washington within the first couple of days that there was anything in connection, a protest in connection to a YouTube video?
No, the only report that our mission made through every channel was that there had been an attack on a consulate.
So at this table, we assumed all of the things that we found out yesterday to be true, but we were giving people buckets full of the benefit of the doubt. Now they don't deserve that anymore, Eric. What do you think?
Well, I think there are two timelines. There's the timelines of politics, and that one really starts after everything in Benghazi was finished. That was the cover-up timeline. Mostly, the way to answer that one is who pushed the video. That's the question that needs to be answered for that one. But the timeline of life is a little different. Can I just throw it up here very quickly? Here's how it actually went down. This is according to every source, not just the testifiers yesterday. 10:45 p.m., Benghazi under attack. Email from Benghazi. 11 p.m., Obama meets with Panetta and Biden. Between 1 and 2 a.m., Stevens and Smith are dead on arrival at a Libya hospital. At 2 a.m., according to Hicks, yesterday's testimony, Hillary calls him. He's also told via another phone call that help is not coming. They've been told to stand down. At 2 a.m., this is important because between 2 and 4 a.m., there's a lull in activity. No one's fighting. The consulate is quiet. But at 4 a.m., the second round, the mortar attacks happen, and Doherty and Woods are killed. So there's a lot of time. It only takes an hour to get there from Tripoli. It takes a couple hours to get there from Italy. There are a lot of times maybe to save the lives, the timeline of life, save the lives of at least 2 of those Americans. But the political timeline starts with, well, it was a video. It wasn't, a spontaneous attack. It was a spontaneous attack. It wasn't a terror attack. So it's very important, though, that lull in activity may mean there could have been lives saved.
I think that was very helpful, that timeline, because you start to realize, like, wow, as it's unfolding, a day goes by like that. But if you're under attack and you knew that you were going to be under attack and you feel like you're not getting the help that you want, Andrea, how do you think that for people who have learned about this, what do you think their reaction is to what the timeline Eric's talking about?
I think there's still questions that need to be answered. I mean, they can look at the timeline. I think it's troubling, but they still are asking why. And it's not just that night. It's not just why weren't more forces sent or why weren't any forces sent. Because you think about it, they didn't know there could have been a third attack or a fourth attack or a fifth attack. They didn't know. They just said, we're not sending anybody. There wasn't enough time. Also, Dana, in the months that led up, I'm going to continue to hit this point. That same consulate was attacked twice. That is something that the president would have known about. Ambassador Stevens asked for security himself, personally pled for enhanced security. Why didn't he get it? He was a good friend of Hillary Clinton's. If that's the way she treats her friends, I would hate to see the way she treats her enemies.
And the mission that he was on, Greg, was one on behalf of the State Department to establish the building that they wanted there.
For her.
May or may not have had to do something with help for the CIA. So there are other questions. One of the questions that Hillary Clinton asked in the December hearing was, what difference does it make? What do you think after the hearing?
Here's the thing. I'm glad that Obama took this so seriously that he went on Letterman. I guess he couldn't get an interview with Mad Magazine. The administration lied. They lied about this video because they believed the lie, and they've told the lie before. And the lie is blaming the video is no different than the lie about Fort Hood. When you blamed Fort Hood on workplace violence, that's exactly the same thing as blaming the video, because in a sense, you're taking an external evil and you're internalizing it. It's like a funhouse mirror. Anything that is bad that is happening to America then is switched so it is America's fault. That's what happened with Fort Hood. That is what happens here. If yesterday's hearing was about an American preacher who was burning a Koran in front of a mosque, the White House would have been completely engaged in that because that outrage is a sin of the West. And as long as it reflects badly on us, they feel so strongly about it. But if it's beyond our borders, if it's another country involved where we are so used to apologizing and to bowing and that we're the bad guys, suddenly they're not there. They don't show up.
I want to get Bob in on this, but I want to play some sound and have you react to it, because you were at the State Department in the Carter administration. You know how dedicated career civil servants are. They had 3 yesterday at the hearing. Some called them whistleblowers, some called them witnesses. And the Democrats on the committee had some interesting ways of dealing with them. Take a look.
So fast forward, Mr. Hicks, to the Sunday talk shows and Ambassador Susan Rice. She blamed this attack on a video. In fact, she did it 5 different times. What was your reaction to that?
I was stunned. My jaw dropped, and I was embarrassed.
And I find it truly disturbing and very unfortunate that when Americans come under attack, the first thing some did in this country was attack Americans, attack the military, attack the president, attack the State Department, attack the former senator from the great state of New York, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
So, Bob, these whistleblowers, to me, did not have a political axe to grind, but that was how it was turned on them when they were there testifying.
Yeah, you know, I think the ultimate question here is who gave the general in charge of the African command the order to stand down. That is not at all clear to me. The second thing that's not clear to me is if they really could have gotten forces to save Stephen's lives. Certainly they could have the other 2 lives. And the other thing I'm not convinced of is that there were that many people available to send to Benghazi. But leaving that aside, somebody told them to stand down, and they got off those planes, didn't get on the planes. So the question is, who was that? And I think that's really the key.
And also, yes, absolutely, who gave the stand-down order is very important. Hillary Clinton called at 2 a.m. At 3 a.m., Mr. Hicks found out there was a stand-down order, and he wasn't going to. There was going to be no help sent to Benghazi. Think of this for 1 second. If it was Alex or your daughter, or if it was Malia or Sasha, or if it was Chelsea Clinton in Benghazi, pinned down with mortars coming in, and there's a 5-hour difference between when they first learned, when the email came out that said Benghazi under fire, or 4-hour difference between when Obama met with Panetta and Biden. Between then and the time that one of those precious children were injured or killed, don't you think we'd be asking different questions right now?
Well, yeah, but listen, I've got to ask the question. The assumption then is that somebody didn't really care about the lives of these people, but rather their political butts. And I still find that hard to believe.
I do too, but you know what? It would be very easy to find out the answer to that question of who gave the stand-down order. There has to be some sort of record of it, and Andrea, why don't they just put it all out there at this point?
Yeah, and it was more than just that. So they were told to stand down multiple times. We learned that yesterday. No F-16s were called. Special forces were in Tripoli at the time. They were ordered not to join a team to Benghazi. Bob, the question is, this shows a profound level of unreadiness by the administration. Dick Cheney said we would have been ready on 9/11. This was a vulnerable area that they knew had requested additional security. On the video, we forget, President Obama and Hillary Clinton set $70,000 to apologize in advertisements in Pakistan for that video. That's not getting a lot of coverage.
They made up the problem of the video.
That's did.
What's incredible.
And the hospital. Why was Ambassador Stevens taken to a hospital controlled by the same terrorists that conducted the attack, Ansar al-Sharia? Why did that happen? There were no resources. Those 4 Americans were left to die. When I watched that, I thought, those poor people. They were left to die.
What other hospital were they going to go to? I don't assume Benghazi's got top-flight hospitals. It probably only has 1.
Well, radical Islamic.
There's going to be
terrorist
hospitals. There's going to be additional. That could be right. There might not have been another. That might have been the nearest medical facility. Congressman Boehner, Speaker Boehner, is using the powers of the legislative branch with the executive branch to ask for the release of more information. All of the things we've talked about, including how do we get from knowing from the CIA immediately on that day and from multiple sources on the ground, so there's multiple streams of intelligence corroborating that Al-Qaeda is involved, to blaming a video and having that guy arrested, still in jail. I mean, if we stand for anything in this country, Nakula should be released.
Yeah, and where is Valerie Jarrett and Susan Rice? What deserted island are they on? Amelia Earhart.
They're getting awards.
Oh, that's
for being
right.
Great
That's right.
Americans.
But here's the issue, which is why the left is so happy. Is the Benghazi hearings are kind of like an exam that the White House knows it can skip because it's already getting a passing grade. Their incompetence, the White House incompetence, is born from a doting administration and a media terrified of criticizing Obama. And it makes you wonder what the Democrats will let Obama get away with. If this were a Republican, what would happen? Look at drones. Who called the administration on the drones? It wasn't a Democrat. It was Rand Paul.
Can I point something out? Who blaming the video is political cover for President Obama. Hiding this person who called for the stand down is political cover for Hillary Clinton.
If I'm not mistaken, though, the original intelligence report did talk about the video, did it not?
No. That was, remember, there were spontaneous events happening simultaneously somewhere else. It had nothing to do with it.
Excuse me, I busted my button off my shirt, so
it's because your forearms are just getting huge with all that working out that
biceps, Bob.
Well, we're going to keep talking about this and the media's role in keeping the truth about Benghazi from getting out. Greg's been keeping track of the coverage.